Do you know who Jesse Plemons is?
Oh, I think I've heard that name. That's like
You've
a
definitely heard that name.
yeah. It's like a famouser person. It's not like a person I would meet on the street, right?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
famous person.
Okay. Jesse Clemens. Give me a hint.
He's an actor.
Okay. Doesn't really narrow it
I've
down.
ta-
I'll be honest with
I've
you.
talked about him in. Okay, listen. I've talked about him in our group chat. I've
Oh.
mentioned this man.
That's probably where I've read it at then.
Absolutely, yeah. At least
Yeah.
I think you.
Okay.
Well, we're going to talk about him in this movie discussion down the line. So I'll.
Is he in this movie?
No, he's not in this movie, but his wife is.
Okay. Jesse
So
Plemons or Clemens? Plemons.
Plemons, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
When we talk about him, I'll make sure to bring it up when we talk about Kirsten Dunst, who's his wife. In real life, she's in this movie, obviously, that we're talking about today. I have not an anecdote. I just have something to share about him beyond what the obvious might be based on if you remember anything I've said in this group chat before.
Oh, I don't.
But I
know the
okay,
I
well,
know the name though.
we'll unpack it all.
Okay, all right.
You seen any good movies in the last week?
Oh, is this the intro? We starting up?
I was gonna keep the Jesse Plemons talk in too, but I
Oh,
just
okay.
figure I like to check in, see
Um,
how it's going.
No, not really.
Okay, all right. Well, this is We Want to
Yeah, well-
Watch. My name's Lane.
I say that like every week. I'm like, nah, like not particular.
Yeah. What's your name?
My name? Ricky. Wait, I shouldn't cut out. It's just Ricky. Cut that whole bit
Jesus.
out.
Oh my God.
Actually, let me. My name's Ricky. There, you got a nice little audio clip there.
I'm keeping all of that in and bleeping your name. This is a movie. This is not a movie. This is a podcast. Oh, we're losing the plot already. This is a podcast where we watch movies that we think we should watch or have
That
been
we wanna
recommended to
watch.
us. That we want to watch. Just want to watch isn't enough. There's tons of movies I want to watch that are not going to get watched on this podcast because
Well,
I don't
wanna
think
watch
that they
isn't
have
enough.
anything to
That's why-
talk about.
That's why we put "we" at the front. That's the name. It's the "we" want to
yeah.
watch.
All right. Well, I'm just saying there's probably movies that we would like to watch that aren't necessarily going to be fun to talk about, right? So or aren't.
Fair.
So I feel like the thesis of this, right? It's like the canon. We want to watch stuff that's like important or like that is meaningful or like we've heard people talk about.
Right. That's our cinematic universe.
So this week,
Dead air. Dead air.
pauses are important for comedy. It's all about timing. This week, we watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, directed by Michel Gondry. I'm excited to talk about this movie.
I am too.
You had recommended this. This was a Rick pick, wisely, I think. You and Christopher had both suggested this movie for this podcast because you both said that it was a movie that I would have hot takes on.
Yeah.
Which, tell me now that I've seen this, and I'll say I didn't totally despise this movie at all.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. So, why did you suggest this, and like, what's your history with this movie?
So this is another movie that my English teacher really enjoyed and showed to the class. Or maybe he didn't personally enjoy it, but he thought that it had value to show to the class. And I, upon the rewatch, actually really enjoyed it. I maybe didn't like it so much at first, and I had sort of bad associations with it because I was like, like I saw this in class, and for some reason I really had a bad taste in my mouth with it. And I think it was just because of like a relationship I had at the time, and I was like, man, like this movie is so superficial, and it sucks, and it's stupid. I don't really feel that way now. I actually really enjoyed this movie. The rewatch was like really great, and especially looking at it from like a cinematic point of view, very good movie. Like surprisingly good. I did not expect it going into it. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I had bad preconceived notions. So.
Yeah. Wait. So you said you had a negative opinion of it because you were You like were coming out of a relationship at the time?
Yeah, yeah. So 11th grade, right? The summer of 11th grade, I had just had we'll say a fling with a girl, and it did not end well, obviously.
You date women?
Yeah, right? Crazy, huh? A date is a pretty strong term, too. Let's be real. Fraternized?
Fraternize, yeah.
Fraternized with? Yeah. I joined a frat with her, bro. It was sick.
I was gonna say, what's the female version? What's the female version of fraternize? Is it like sororitize?
Sororitized. Yeah. I'm glad we had the same shitty joke there.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so I think this was like one of the first movies because he sort of like to ease the class into sort of deeper, more meaningful things. At least when he was teaching it back in what? You know what? I'm not going to dox myself by saying the year, but
Oh my God, it's fine. No one cares that you're in your 20s. Like, it's fine.
no, I care that I'm in my 20s. And so just like watching it then, I was like, oh, this is very superficial, yada yada. I also was like, oh, I'd never do this, and specifically, I would never fall into the same trap that a couple of the main players in the plotline do. And upon the rewatch, I've completely changed sides. This was a good movie, and an understandable sort of depiction of maybe not the human condition of loneliness, but like the ways in which we move through the world. I said the ways in which.
Wait, have I bitched to you about this?
Yes, yeah. That's why.
Okay.
That's why I like cringed physically immediately after saying it.
I
But, like,
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and
Yeah.
every time I hear, because people on podcasts say it all the fucking time, and I don't know what it is, but
I'm a podcaster now. No.
yeah, you are. You caught it. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna write in, I'm gonna leave a comment, I'm gonna get an Apple device so I can leave a review and critique this famous writer for saying
It's
the ways
crazy
in which.
because yeah, but like even the way which I speak, the way that I would say it. Notice I didn't include the in there, okay?
You were trying.
But the way that I speak or the way that my mind would parse that phrase just says, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You should say the ways in which.
It does make sense. It's just like unnecessary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like you can just
should
say
elaborate
how.
for the podcast as well, just so that it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, oh, I just think it's redundant. It's a redundant. You can just say the way, like the way that this
Yeah.
thing does this thing, or how.
Like the way people move through the world, but it doesn't sound as good, and like
It doesn't sound
I feel
as, like-
there's some like
It's like
impactful
leftist.
meaning behind it, right?
It's like leftist academese. Like it's.
Oh.
I always hear it on the left. I never hear like. I mean, of course, I'm not consuming a lot of like conservative content, but
Yeah, but
I hear
but
like.
Tucker Carlson's not up there. Like,
All right, we're done here. Anyway, so you thought this movie was more relatable this time around because you weren't
yeah,
having a
I wasn't
flame.
coming out of like a bad headspace, and
Yeah.
I was sort of maybe not more objective with it, but definitely going into it with the idea of oh, like let's just watch the movie, see what I like about it, what I don't like, and I came away with a lot more likes than don't like. In fact, I
Yeah.
don't really have many don't likes that I would particularly try to point at with this film. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I on the balance, I came away with more likes than dislikes, which I'm excited about because I'd say this is the movie I've liked the most of the new ones we've watched for this. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about a movie that I didn't just want to pick apart. I have not seen this movie. I haven't seen very much of Charlie Kaufman, who is the writer, kind of not the main auteur of this, but I would say, but he is an auteurist, writer and director. I'd seen Being John Malkovich. I've seen Synecdoche, New York. So those are kind of two of his other like movies that he's written. And I was like, okay, on both of those. I liked Synecdoche. I was fine with Being John Malkovich. So like I knew that he kind of had a very particular like meta or like not even postmodern, like postmodern visual style.
Yeah, Dada almost.
And so
I think meta is a really good way to put it, though.
Yeah, and so I had expectations for this movie, but um yeah, I was surprised actually by I guess how like lo-fi it was. I wasn't expecting that. The only kind of
Yeah.
clip the only clip I had seen of this movie before in full was the scene where she first Clementine is first like, "Hey, what if we try putting me into another memory?" And then he like imagines her in the kitchen with the his mom, like when he's a little baby or whatever, under the table.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I was like, that like that scene is kind of sterile by design.
Hmm.
It's very like clean and kind of like neat and not as frantic at first as the rest of the movie is. So I had that expectation of like weird kind of sterility,
Surrealism almost. Yeah.
not yeah like or like hyper realism in a way, or
Hmm.
like
Oh
yeah
yeah.
just that
Hmm.
kind of. And so when this movie starts out and it's very like handheld, very lo-fi, and it just that doesn't really stop. I was expecting that to be just the way that memories were portrayed at first. Like for the first couple minutes, I was
Hmm.
like, oh, this is just a memory, and this is how we're gonna know that we're like in his head and not, this isn't the real life. But that wasn't true either. And so yeah, I appreciated that, and yeah, on the balance, I liked this. Yeah,
The way that the movie was shot is great, at least in my opinion, and especially the scene transitions between the memories and when like moving through his sort of mind, and even before that, when there there's so many really great transitions in this movie. Um, one of the notable ones, or at least the one that stands out to me still, is when he was, I think, having his last conversation with Clementine in before he gets his memory wiped, and he's in the record store, and as he's like walking through it, so you see like all of the vinyls or CDs or whatever. It's 2006, so I guess CDs. And he walks directly into the living room of their mutual friend's house, and that was so cool. Like watching that transition was like it was like a really
yeah,
seamless transition between the two scenes, like flawless almost. I really enjoyed that, and that was like the first really impactful transition that they had, I guess, because all the ones before that were sort of more normal, like more not generic, but like it's like, oh, like this is just a movie. This is just like how scenes move from one scene to the next, yada yada.
yeah,
Um, and that was the first one where I was like, ooh, there's like they're introducing some like technical expertise into this, and then when they get into the memories, it gets even cooler and more surreal and weirder with the scene
yeah.
transitions, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember the exact shot that you're talking about of him kind
Hmm.
of walking into their living room, because I remember being like, oh, but this is clearly not a memory. Like this is not,
Hmm.
this is truly just. I mean, it is memory. This movie makes an interesting kind of case for how, yeah, memories can be fluid, and how even just remembering a memory changes it, and kind of the narrative that we're telling ourselves as we recount things in our head or to other people, and the way that we remember things just changes our emotional connection to them. And so the kind of fluid way that scenes transition, and so you're kind of kept not off balance. Like it's not really a frantic or like I don't think it's the movie isn't as difficult to follow as you would expect. It's
Right.
not hard to say like when is a scene taking place in the past versus when what is happening in real time, in the timeline. It does a good job of keeping that seamless, but not too disorienting.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah,
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 and I mean, comparing it to like Eraserhead, which has also very sort of has much more like frenetic energy going on there, right? It's frantic. There's things happening. The line between what's real and fake is already kind of blurred just because of how alien the world is in that movie, versus this very much so real life world where um, like you're watching the story sort of take place, and it definitely throws or it definitely threw me for a loop in the beginning. I forgot that the movie like cold opens with him meeting Clementine
yeah,
after the not surgery, but after the
yeah. The surgery procedure, whatever.
procedure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So that was pretty nice, and like getting to the point of realizing like, oh, wait a second, like happened after all of this.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I will say I was taken by the, in the very beginning, he sees the dent from the yellow fire hydrant, but the car next to him's not yellow. I didn't even clock that. And then at the end,
he even writes a note to it. He's like, "Thank you."
Yeah, he's like, "Thanks." Yeah. Like, so at the end, when it comes back to that, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like that was actually pretty clever. I didn't even clock it. So that was cool.
And it's nice that they returned to where they first met as well. And so like the first scene that we see them together is also the first place where, or like the first setting where they were together, just at a different time from what we've seen. So I don't know. That was a nice little touch, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, at first, the very first 5 minutes or whatever, when he's meeting her for the first time chronologically, or the second time chronologically, but the first time in the movie, I was like, "Oh, buddy, we might be off to the wrong foot. We can't. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stomach this," just because I did not like this couple. Like I didn't. Yeah. And this is something that I didn't love. This is one of the things keeping this from being like a banger to me is I found him annoying. I found her annoying. I didn't really feel any kind of like interest in I wasn't rooting for them as a couple, but I also wasn't like tragically,
against them.
Yeah, or like I didn't have the sense like, oh, this is like, a doomed like star-crossed lovers who like, they're just destined to be like destructive. Yeah. I didn't have like that kind of sense either. It wasn't. I didn't really care. I guess I wasn't made to care. And like in the very beginning, when he says things like he's like writing in his journal, oh buddy, men writing in their journal, strike one. He's like, why am I incapable of making eye contact with a woman I don't know? And why do I fall in love with every woman I see? I'm like, I hate this guy. Like I hate this guy. What do you think of Jim Carrey in general?
Oh, great in this movie. In general, great.
Ooh.
I like him as an actor. Ooh, wow. Difference of opinion there?
I like him as a comedic actor for the most part.
Yeah.
I thought
it was cool to see him outside of a comedy role.
Have you seen The Truman Show?
Yeah. I love that movie too.
I think he's good there. I think he needs a little bit more comedy. I think when he is too anxious in his dramatic role here, and I get that that's the point, but I just found him very grating in his. He's kind of he becomes very mannered, and that's a silly thing to say about Jim Carrey. Like he's maybe the most mannered actor of all time. Like he's always doing business, and so in this it was like. It wasn't making me laugh, so it was just making me cringe, I guess. The way he was kind of like curling in on himself and this like contorting himself into these like weird postures and things to emphasize like how anxious and like sad boy he was.
You're supposed to cringe at that though, right? Like he's supposed to be a cringy character, yeah? Like I think he just portrayed a like cringy sad boy character, like the things that you're describing, which weren't really those terms used in 2006. Maybe cringe was
2004, but yeah, like
2004. All right, wow.
I mean, I get that I get that he's supposed to be like a sad guy, like, and he's like kind of like a depressed,
sad,
like,
shy,
introvert.
Reserved.
Yeah,
I can't even look women in the eyes. Oh, I'm so artsy. I have to draw this girl on the train.
With big boobs.
Come on.
He's like constantly drawing titties in his fucking journal too, like jacking off.
He was drawing a lot of weird, fucked up shit in his journal. And I mean, and speaking of jacking off, when that also roots back to the scene where of his big shame when he was jacking off to his own drawings with titties. Right. Like, come on.
Which again, like. To me, I think the movie really wants you to root for him and her. I don't think the movie is like, isn't this guy embarrassing? Like, I don't think the movie is trying to say, hey, isn't, don't you feel sad for this guy? Like, isn't his sadness so apparent?
Maybe not that. Right, but like, it's definitely not portraying him as like, as a good person. Maybe not even as a good person, but as like a... like not cringy person. Like he's not based in this movie, right? Jim Carrey is not supposed to be based here, right?
I guess I don't see the point of this movie in a way, because so in the very beginning like when he first, not the very beginning, when he first finds out that she did the procedure. Like I watched this movie in my hotel. I'm like on a trip, so I haven't seen Christopher in a while, and I was like devastated for that like 5 to 10 minutes. I was like really locked into this movie, and like, oh man, like what if like I went home and I found out that Christopher had like done this procedure? Not that we've broken up or anything, but like if that happened, like that would be awful. Like I was totally locked into that. And then like the movie kind of doesn't really come back to, because he makes the decision in the story to undergo it himself. The movie doesn't really explore like what would it be like if somebody did that to you, and like what does it mean about that person, and like what does it mean to try and erase that.
Well,
Instead it's so about like the journey of him having those erased, and like what memories mean to a person in general. And so
I'll have to disagree with you with that point. It does sort of delve into that, although it's a bit tertiary to the main storyline, right?
that's what I mean. Yeah, and well, and that's my point, is like if it had been the main story was like this very serious exploration of like what that means or what that would mean and what that would do to a person, both who gets the procedure and who is the erasee. Instead it goes for this other kind of discussion, this kind of like love story, and like all of those other kind of conversations being had are less interesting because I don't like the characters. Like if I liked the characters, I would be more locked into that too. At the end of the movie, when they are reconciling and they're making it, the decision to kind of go for it again, I didn't feel sad or tragic or bittersweet or any of those things. Like I just kind of felt like, okay, like it didn't have the wallop that I was looking for. And so if I had liked these characters more, I think I would have been more rooting for it, kind of interested in that story. And instead it felt like, well, you abandoned the thing that had me emotionally invested, and now I'm just not. I still liked the movie, but anyway. But so you think, I don't know, it feels like they rush him into, after like maybe 15 or 20 minutes, they rush him into the procedure himself, and then it doesn't really become about like what does this do to a person, because we don't really see their aftermath of like the procedure until the very end.
Right, but we see the aftermath of a similar procedure, right? So like let's sort of break it down in a couple of ways. So first of all, this, just speaking as to Jim Carrey's character, when he's talking to his friends about it, the entire time he's just talking about himself, right? He's like, how could you do this to me? I'm the nicest guy that she's ever been with. I'm the nicest guy she's ever like seen or had in a relationship, yada yada. Like how could she do this to me? Why would she do this to me? Like,
I have to just say, I like am allergic to that type of guy and like that type of protagonist. So I mean, maybe I didn't give him a fair shake. I'll just say, like when he started spouting those things off.
I think you're not supposed to. I think you're supposed to dislike his character, right?
But then what?
Is that just me?
I don't know. I feel like this movie is, even if you're not supposed to like agree with him in those cases, you're still supposed to. I don't know. Yeah, I think you're supposed to like him, or like at least feel sorry for him.
I think you can be empathetic towards his situation, right? And say like, oh, like yeah, that would be really horrible, and still acknowledge that like, oh, okay, well, like, but buddy, like, judging by your reaction, you're not really taking into account like why she would have done these things. You're asking why, but you don't care why. You just want to know why she hurt you, not well, you don't even want to know why she hurt you. You just want like, I don't know, justice or like vengeance or whatever. Yeah. Right.
Well, I see in black and white, so I just I don't like this guy, and so I'm not going to empathize with him. I mean, I don't know what you want from me.
No, fair.
I'm kidding.
But
I'm kidding.
As he sort of gets like more and more antsy about it, right? So that was what, 3 days before Valentine's, so the 11th, right? And then he goes into the clinic on the 12th, we assume, like the day after. He talks to them, and he's like, what the hell's going on here? He's just looking for answers, like, yada yada. Then once he leaves there, and then on the 12th, he goes back again, and he's like, I need to be scheduled. I need to go, like, I need this procedure done. And the 13th into the 14th is when the procedure happens. So maybe he went back on the 13th, maybe not the 12th. But it's, like, within the span of a day or so, he was like, I can't deal with this. I have to go back. And the movie actually is pretty interesting, at least to me, in how it shows transport as well. I kind of wanted to mention this earlier. a lot of movies will either emphasize transport, like they'll include scenes where you're in the car. They'll help it reinforce the plot, and I think the movie does this well, just in how, like, a lot of Jim Carrey's emotional moments are within that car, and it's interesting to see that, and then to see like the times that they do transitions where like you have to go from place to place and they just like don't include like what was happening, like they don't include the train or the car. It's just like they're just there now, which I don't know, I think it's just like an interesting choice narratively to choose that sort of environment, especially because like cars are like a private area for many people. Like it's a space where you are secure and sort of by yourself. That's not your house. Like you can get in your car and you can cry and you can go for a drive, and like we see Jim Carrey do that.
Yeah.
Which I just think was interesting. I also like, again, I just don't think you're supposed to like Jim Carrey's character. Like I think you're supposed to be like, oh, like this guy's like really cringy. He only really cares about himself, and he almost uses niceness as a sort of like self-pitying defense mechanism where he's like, well, like I'm really nice, so nothing bad should happen to me, like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's like the archetypal nice guy, right? Like he's like the archetype of a nice guy. And so I'm cool with that. Like I will watch a movie with an unsympathetic protagonist. I like a lot of movies with unsympathetic protagonists, but at some point it's like, what am I supposed to care about then in this movie? Like, I guess I just, even, like, I think the movie, it's so important for the relationship, for you to be invested in them, at least, like, from I don't find them interesting either, is the thing. Like, I don't really find her interesting. I think she's kind of, not one-dimensional, but just also a stereotype, and so...
Yeah.
I don't find either of them to be interesting stereotypes. I don't think the way they interact is all that interesting. Like I think
their interactions are like the worst.
It's not even
right?
See, yeah, they're like they're very basic. They're kind of like
right. Like she's like the only one that brings light into his life, and like she has to be quirky and off the wall all of the time.
Yeah,
and he's what sort of grounds her, and he's like, no, like come on, like the ice might break, come on, you know.
Right. I mean, and like I do think that they get at something interesting when she says like the kind of quintessential deflation of the manic pixie dream girl thing is when she says like, I'm my own fucked up girl, don't come looking for me to like fix you or ground you or whatever. And that's the only time that she really acknowledges that, I feel like. And instead it's like,
she says it a few times. Yeah,
she says it a couple times, because she forgets that she said it or whatever. But I don't know. I would have liked to see kind of more dimension there to her in acknowledging that and like how that impacts the relationship. It just, I mean, she, at the end when they're kind of like listening back on their fights and it's like, oh, she just fucks everybody and she's crazy and the hair thing is bullshit. And she says about him like, oh, he's so boring. He's boring. He makes me sad to be around. I'm always irritated. It's like none of those are really about the characters. Like none of the, you could say that about anything, or like any, you could replace any other character with Jim Carrey and she could still be saying he's boring. Like that doesn't really say anything about him or about her. And so, the fact that I don't like either of them and I don't find their relationship compelling. Yeah, it just kind of takes an emotional core from the movie that I think it needs in order. Again, I like this movie. I think it's still good. I think the things it's saying are still interesting, but just it doesn't. This movie's not devastating for me the way that it could be. I'm also not like, I don't know. I'm divorced. I don't care. Like, people sometimes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't care. But anyway, I was about to rattle off my address.
I don't care. Mail anthrax to my house. Like...
Yeah, whatever. Like, who's listening to this? Like, my boyfriend and you? Like, I don't...
True.
But no, I've had people say... I guess I just don't find this, like, breakups in general to be the saddest thing in the world. Because, I don't know, I'm in a happy relationship now, but just having that perspective, I'm like, okay, I need this to be devastating in a different way than just two people not being together or like two people being hurt by each other and wanting to erase them from each other's memories. It doesn't hit me as hard because I don't care.
Yeah, I think the movie leans heavily into people being unable to sort of let go of each other because they couldn't let go normally. They had to have this procedure done, right? So obviously, like, there's still emotions there, but they can't handle those emotions. Like, they can't deal with those emotions as adults, so they need to have all of their memories removed, which is like obviously like a crazy leap in logic, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe like try going to therapy, try literally anything else for like more than a couple days, right? Pick
Yeah.
up a new hobby. I don't know, like
Yeah.
whatever, man. So it's like such an extreme action, which like seems really shady, right? Like you're going to a place that's going to go into your house while you're knocked out
And
and
give you brain
delete
damage.
memories from
Yeah.
your brain. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
nothing more than rough night of drinking. And it's like
Yeah.
pause.
Great great performance from Tom Wilkinson, who is that actor. He's incredible. We should watch Michael Clayton at some point. Maybe I'll pocket that for later. But yeah,
So
he does a great
speaking,
job here.
yeah, and speaking of that actor, can we talk about his relationship with his secretary, who also underwent the procedure,
Yeah,
and how that affects the people in their relationships afterwards, right?
I feel like they actually might have the more interesting relationship by far.
Yeah.
I would love to see more about that because it's clear that like there's way more of like a volatility to them in a way, even though I think, obviously Clementine is a volatile person. The circumstances of her and I don't even remember Jim Carrey's character's name.
Yeah, neither do
Oops.
I. It's like something Lee, and almost
Joel.
like
Not
Joel.
Jolie.
Yeah,
Jolie, she calls him.
Jolie. Yep.
They don't have like a very volatile relationship, and so at least not that's depicted. Another reason that I don't feel as emotionally connected to it because I'm not like, ooh, this is like crashing and burning, it's really tragic they're back together. Whereas with Tom Wilkinson and Kirsten Dunst, they are clearly like there's volatility there's like a real hard reason besides the fact that they like their personalities wouldn't work or whatever, that they aren't together or couldn't be together. And so that is way more interesting to me. And like the coercion, obviously, like he performed it on her, like that's crazy. And obviously there's pressure because of the wife. Like all of those things are way more interesting than just this explanation or exploration of the sad guy's memories, I guess. So that was really, really interesting. I was kind of rooting for those scenes to take up more runtime.
I think they provide like a really interesting, like the movie itself almost provides an interesting backdrop to those scenes. The memories aren't really the focus, like that sort of almost analog horror like film that we go through where Jim Carrey is facing these like faceless demons within his mind that are trying to take away Clementine from him.
Yeah,
right?
this movie is very horrifying, especially in the beginning when he doesn't really understand it. Yeah, that was like there were definitely some really scary kind of imagery and like just the horror of like being locked in and not being able to stop a procedure like that even though you can feel it happening. Very, very scary. Yeah.
It's so nightmarish, and not even to the level of like, oh, like you're forgetting about this loved person, you're losing like essentially years of your life.
Even just the loss of control.
Yeah, where it feels like a very like man against God when he's like out on the ice and like it's snowing and he's like yelling up at the sky, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really cool imagery to see that, and it's again, it points to the fact that like there's like he's someone who couldn't deal with trying to work through those emotions by himself, right? He couldn't work through that emotionally, so he needs a procedure done, which quick and easy. You just pass out and you wake up like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Which is like it's not an adult way to approach it, right? And so you get to sort of see the effects of the procedure on like a singular person, and then you also get to see the effects of it through the doctor. I forget his name, the older gentleman, Howard.
Yeah, she's constantly talking about how smart and cool and funny he is. Yeah,
it's so great what Howard does. Don't you just love Howard?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting to sort of see like the impacts that, and especially like when watching the movie, I was like, damn, like you could really abuse the fuck out of this shit, right? Like
totally.
This is like the U.S. government would have this shit on lock. Like this is the craziest technology to ever be developed. And then they do sort of like delve into like, oh yeah, no, like this is fucking up the personal lives of everyone involved in it. We get to see the Hobbit man. What's his name?
Elijah Wood.
Yeah, we get to see him being a little fucking weird pervert and
Mark
and then
Ruffalo
tried to
too.
like Yeah, he's Mark Ruffalo isn't as much of a weird little pervert though.
No, he's like a creep, but he's not as fucking weird as Elijah Wood
Yeah,
is. Yeah, you're right.
he's
They're both
like
great.
he's kind of like normal about it. He's just like, yeah, I'll crack a couple beers, a couple brewskis, let the computer
Yeah.
go on autopilot. And hey, fuck it, if some food goes missing from the fridge, that's not my problem. If I fuck on the bed next to this sleeping guy, that's not my
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, that was crazy when they're doing they're doing like half naked jumping jacks on the bed
Yeah,
next to
yeah.
him.
They're passing a joint like over his sleeping
Yeah.
body. Like,
Yeah,
hello.
I'm sure that's good for your brain when you're undergoing this procedure too, to
Oh yeah,
be high at times.
yeah. That the secondhand smoke. They're like blowing
Yeah.
it into his face.
Yeah, I think Kirsten Dunst is maybe the best performance in the movie. Actually,
Yeah.
so Kate Winslet got nominated for Best Actress in this.
Wow.
I found her performance a little bit, yeah, mannered. I guess I found both of them very mannered.
Very
Which is
mannered.
What's that?
Just very mannered. Like it's your
Yeah.
comments for both of them.
Yeah, yeah, and again, that's not the worst thing in the world. It's just I would have liked to see a more not subtle performance necessarily, but a performance with a little more nuance or depth to it. Because
Yeah.
I didn't feel like she had like her character wasn't drawn very complexly, and so she kind of, I feel like leaned into it for 95% of the time. So
I was gonna say their depictions of like cringy couple shit were like pretty spot on though. Definitely cringy, right? Like just like I don't know.
do you mean like when they're like being cutesy with each other, or like when they're being like
Yeah.
hostile?
Oh no, when they're being cutesy with each other. When they're being hostile, it's like that seems pretty accurate to at least what I've seen of like relationships where neither person's really happy but they don't want to leave, right? And it's
Yeah.
a sort of like slow burn with that.
Yeah.
Just like snide remarks over food.
Yeah,
Like, all right,
yeah.
well. Which again, it's like I didn't particularly like either of these characters, but I feel like they make sense as characters and as humans, right? They seem very human.
They seem human, but they're not like dimensioned enough. Like I don't see any side of them except for the surface. And so that it's they're obvious in a way. It's like I
Right.
don't ever feel like I have a relationship to them, or to I don't really know what they're thinking. Even though Jim Carrey is monologuing, internally throughout the movie, and he's like, I fucking hate when she does this. She's gonna say this, like in the memories and stuff. And it's like, Jesus. Other than that, I mean, that I feel like there isn't much going on to kind of cling to, and yeah.
Yeah, I will say, one of like Joel's like nitpicks at the end of the film. One of the reasons why he wanted to get the procedure done, he mentions like, oh, like her vocabulary is lacking. Like, how do we speak in public? When for like at least a quarter of the film, the only adjective that he can use to describe
nice.
her
Yeah.
and him
Yeah.
and like just things in general is nice. It's just nice. Everything is
Yeah.
nice all of the time.
Yeah.
And then when she sort of pressures him, eventually he goes, "It's great. Like this was the greatest night of my life." It's like,
Yeah.
all right. Oh,
Yeah, he's
so it's better than
projecting.
nice. So it's
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's one of those things where it's like, all right. Well, obviously, going back to the end of the film, like obviously this isn't going to work out. The same issues are going to crop up, and you've sort of removed that safety net of, oh well, it's what I know, right? Because you don't know it anymore. Like you don't have those habits anymore. You've forgotten all of them, and they still want to go back to, well, I mean, we can give it a try still, right? Like they haven't learned anything, because they didn't take the time to emotionally process it at all. They just erased it. And I feel like that's sort of not like the warning of the film,
No,
right?
I think it is. I think you're right
Yeah?
that it is the warning. Yeah, like this movie definitely doesn't have a positive view of this procedure. I mean, the fact that Kirsten Dunst at the end of it is, kind of negating everything and sabotaging the whole practice, I think that's clearly supposed to be the indictment of this, and like advocacy for processing your emotions, giving your relationships, a healthy kind of preponderance or
room.
whatever. Yeah. So
Let the body cool down a bit before you start burying. Yeah, I thought Howard was the one who sent out the all of the like tapes at
No,
the end.
no,
No?
it's her.
Oh,
No,
it was
no, it's her.
Kirsten
That's
Dunst?
because
Okay.
she, yeah, because she's the one who writes the letter and is like, I worked at this place for this many months, and you had this procedure done,
Okay.
and I think this is wrong, so I'm sending out these. So
Hmm.
yeah, which like slay queen.
Yeah, no, power move. It's funny when you listen in when he's in the office waiting. She says to someone like, "Yeah, no,
You can't get this done in three times in a month. Yeah,
right," and it's 3 times in a month before Valentine's Day. So it's like within the last 2 weeks, this person has been
yeah,
there twice already, and they're
yeah,
itching for another one. They're jonesing to get back in there, which is I don't know, very very silly, and it sort of points to the fact that well, if you develop this sort of like habit of just
yeah,
emotionally cutting yourself off from it and not confronting anything that you're feeling and not actually trying to dig at like well why did this person make me feel this way like why does this person make me feel self-conscious about my vocabulary
yeah,
maybe or why does this person make me feel self-conscious about my drinking or about my being crabby, right? It's like well
right.
like if you take a minute sort of look at it and then say well maybe it's not with them it's with me, there's like an opportunity for growth.
Do you
And so, hmm,
do you use the apps like
the
like
apps?
dating? Yeah,
What? Oh
like
no, no. I tried to use the apps. They were hit or miss, more misses.
I hear it's rough out there.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah, Lucinda's always talking about yeah how rough it is.
I'll say Bumble was definitely better than like Tinder, right? And
Yeah,
even then, I mean, no, I met a couple of nice girls on Bumble, but like nothing really lasting. I don't know. Apps are just such a bad way to get to know someone, in my opinion. And so like obviously it's like, well, all right, let's meet and see how we like actually interact in person. And that's like the real litmus test.
yeah. Well, what you're saying about like making it a habit of
Hmm.
undergoing this procedure, it's a lot of. It reminds me of like the disposability that those apps,
Provide almost.
yeah, that
Yeah.
they provide. I've heard people talk about this before of like that. Yeah, just having like a sea of people means that you can be kind of very dismissive, and obviously it's like commodifying and objectifying and all of those things, but
Hmm.
even just the way that that impacts people psychologically, like seeing your partners as like just disposable in a sea of possible mates, and what
Right,
that does
right.
to you from like
They're
a
just one of the numbers,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah. And
Yeah.
if I don't perfectly love this person, or if I have an awkward experience with them, and I'm not saying that these are necessarily bad things, to be able to like ghost somebody or like to have the opportunity in the future to just like move on immediately. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm yeah.
It definitely like changes how you approach the relationship, even from like the early stages, I'll say, because if you've got like 10 plus like likes already, it's like all right, well, if this person says something that like either not even that I don't agree with that much, but is particularly off-putting, it's like, well, do I even want to take the first step and like invite you out to like dinner or to like get a
right.
coffee or something if I think that like this isn't going to work out because like I could just go back to swiping for a little bit, right? You know?
Yeah.
But it definitely does like wire your brain to approach those relationships differently, which is why I didn't like it. It wasn't like it didn't seem like it would work out for me, I guess, or it wasn't like meant to foster actual relationships,
Yeah.
which is why I was like, yeah, whatever.
It's interesting because there are people who like get married. They meet their partner
Yeah, oh, yeah.
on Tinder or whatever, and like I have no judgment for those people. It's just it's shocking, because I feel like the vast majority of the people I talk to who are on them, they talk about how shitty it is and how it doesn't go anywhere and etc. So
I think a part of that is also that the people on the other side of the app have the same sort of like you can recognize that the people on the other side of the app have the same mentality that you do approaching it. So you have to you start conforming to a sense of like uniformity within your profile to like try to appeal to as many other people as possible.
sure,
Just because it's like, well, I wouldn't want somebody to dismiss me out of hand because of blank, whatever that might be.
right,
And like generally that's an insecurity. So you're trying to hide that, whatever it is. And then it's like, well, so then how much of yourself are you really being if you're trying to like appeal to as many people as possible? And I mean, I've known guys who have gotten really in their head about like the number of likes they're getting and I don't know, just stuff like that. And they would like week to week like change up their account to see like what worked better and what like women liked more. And it's like, all right, cool, but if you're doing that, are you really meeting someone that like are you really putting yourself out there, or are you putting like
your
some
SEO
weird visage of yourself? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're you are essentially SEOing, which is like crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's just so odd. And you're not even like SEOing yourself. You're like Plato's caving it, right? You're like, well, like what shadows can I put up here that'll make, the people clap? It's like that's like weird, man. Get up on stage yourself.
Yeah.
Which is also tough, I'll say.
Oh, sure.
And all right. Ugh. All right. So like this is cringe.
It makes good podcasting. It's fine.
It makes good podcasting. Ugh. So I'm into anime, and I mean I've been to anime conventions.
Wait.
So I have had that up on my profile before, and I've put up pictures of myself in cosplay, and I've met like women that I've like actually enjoyed spending time with and like really really liked based off of that. I've also met women that I've enjoyed spending time with and really really liked not based off of that. Like making that change didn't really improve or like it didn't really change like the variety of women I was matching with, I guess, because I think I just have the same vibe either way. Like I look like somebody who watches anime, right? So
you look like Wes Anderson. You look like somebody who watches anime. Every listener is going to have this rich tapestry put together of what you look like based on the various analogies we use. I loved
maybe a little too rich too.
I loved it. I thought for sure when you said this is going to be cringe, I thought it was going to be some embarrassing dating story, and instead it's I watch anime.
No, yeah, that is the embarrassing dating story. It's across several dates, honestly. Like that's embarrassing. It's not even that it's embarrassing. It's just that like that was an insecurity for me, and then like I did eventually. I was like, you know what? Like if that's a deal breaker, then like I probably don't want to spend as much time with the person anyway, right? Like this should be something I should be upfront about.
Yeah, for sure.
It led me to like be able to have a lot of really great conversation starters too. Because if somebody says like, oh hey, like I love that anime, I love that show, yada yada, it's like so easy to like be like, oh like what did you like about it? Like why did you like these things? And it's like really great, easy conversation starter, and it was something that I was really resistant to for a while because I mean I have a very negative connotation of like the anime fandom in general, which I sort of eased up on recently as it's gotten like more mainstream. But like when I was in high school, gun to my head, I've never seen an anime in my life, right?
What? Just for the record, what years were you in high school? What were those 4 years? The dates?
For the record, right? The official years that I was in high school were.
We're losing the plot here. I
know. Let's go back to the movie. Let's wrap back around. A really good point to be made about like relationships in general and how this movie touches upon sort of the
disposability,
the frivolous nature, and the disposability, and like if you commodify that, how people will abuse it, and how people will, I don't know, maybe even like continue to fall into the same sort of traps, pitfalls where like you know what the red flags are. They're being spelled out to you by a recording of yourself, and you're still going to say, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important things in a relationship is being able to have like similar habits, right? Like you don't have to share hobbies, but you have to be able to, like if your partner wakes up early, you have to be okay with them waking up early. You can't be mad at them every single day because they've woken up early, right? Because it's just going to breed resentment.
How long have you been married that you're giving out relationship advice on this podcast?
Well, 0 years. How long have you been married, Lane?
It was
Since
5 years.
You've already spoken to me. Sheesh! That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. But I know. But no, I agree with you.
Would you disagree though? Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, I was just, picking on you because it's easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess this movie...
I give you so much fodder with the anime shit, too, and you just glossed right over that.
Listen, if I bully you on this podcast, I'm afraid of making people, like, uncomfortable. Like, if I'm as mean to you unrecorded, like... Some of the shit I've said to you, I don't know that I would be able to say again with a straight face. Like, speaking of things I can't say with a straight face, so Kirsten Dunst is married to Jesse Plemons, and
this is the meat and potatoes of the podcast right here.
Yeah, this is the real hot guy spotlight corner.
Yeah, all the rest of the shit was veggies, you know.
Yeah,
some crudités.
So, I had a dream last night. Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst. Christopher, if you're listening to this, don't just skip like 2 minutes ahead. Like my dream train, like my dream throuple is those two. I think they're so hot. I don't have anything interesting to say other than that last night I had a dream that I woke up like in a cold sweat from really early in the morning. That Jesse Plemons like went on to like a morning talk show and announced that he was changing his pronouns to they, them. And I like woke up and like was upset and disappointed that it was a dream. I was like, no. The representation.
All right, let me take another good look at Jesse Plemons here.
All right, you're not allowed to make any comments here.
No, I will agree. Kirsten Dunst is like
She's
very
beautiful.
Attractive. Yeah, just
she's
one of the
gorgeous.
most beautiful women in the world.
Yeah.
Oh. I guess he has a sort of maybe
Listen.
not ruggedness about him.
Listen.
Ooh, there's one really good picture of him up on Google. All right, Sundance
Yeah.
09. Any listeners want to check that out? The blue background. He kind of looks like I don't know. Between these pictures, he like sort of flip flops between like discount Ed Sheeran and
God,
like,
I shouldn't be able
who's
to
that
talk.
one Parks and Recs guy? He's like the blonde Parks and Recs guy.
I don't know who you're talking about. I
Ron
don't.
Howard or whatever, or Ron Swanson, or
Oh, he's not.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about with the big. I think it's just the big mustache.
He's not
big
blonde.
mustaches always throw me off.
Yeah, I mean the character of Ron Swanson is played by Nick Offerman. He's not blonde at all. It's just the mustache.
No, but if he was blonde and then he also did his hair like that, all right? Mm-hmm.
I'm cutting all this out. I hate every time I tell somebody that I think that this is an attractive man, they either like roast me or make the most evil, fucking cursed comparisons possible, and I'm like, great, cool. I feel
it's
disgusting
really only
now.
some pictures. This guy is a man of many faces, I'll say.
Yeah. Well, I think when he was like young and he looked like Matt Damon on Breaking Bad, like that, not for me. Like, not into the methed out look. But I think like he and Kirsten Dunst have both aged really well.
Yeah, when I'm seeing the Matt Damon pictures.
Yeah, that's not the wave.
I don't know, man. I don't. He looks like a football guy, like a footballer.
Matt Damon. Yeah, Matt Damon's my sworn fucking mortal enemy. So I would not. But Jesse Plemons absolutely would. He's got like I don't know, like a normal guy energy that is appealing. Like this, like he looks like someone who doesn't log online. Like he doesn't know what Reddit is, you know? I don't know. I get the vibe from.
That is an abnormal guy in today's society.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
We really do live in a society, huh? As you can tell, I'm an online guy.
Yeah, I know you are. And that's, you know.
That was for the viewers, Lane. God.
That's why you're easy to pick on.
You don't get it, Lane.
Yeah,
oh.
My ideal platonic or romantic partner is not online at all. And Jesse Plemons is easy to project that onto because he looks like he's from 1968.
True. Oh, that was one of the things in this movie that she sort of makes fun of him for. She's like, "What are you, from the 50s?" When he calls her a wino. So funny. Yeah. Love that shit. I tried to pull this back into the movie, you know, wrench it back in there by any means possible.
It's good podcasting. People want to hear me talk about wanting to for Jesse Plemons. Like,
yo, pause. Are you leaving that in?
Maybe I'll bleep it.
That's crazy.
No. Yeah. Good movie. You know what I liked in this movie?
Good movie, I guess. Yeah, what'd you like in this movie?
I liked the music, especially in the beginning. The like playful, like jaunty horn music.
The like leitmotif going on when they were first like seeing each other, and then it sort of like it goes into the I don't know what. Well, actually, I guess it would be the motif and then the leitmotif later. But yeah, really really cool, and it definitely does sort of lean into like the horror film vibes, especially it's like, oh, like two guys in a like unmarked van pulling up to your house.
Yeah.
You're passing out. It's like very creepy, very sort of like aliens performing a procedure on a human, which is like a freaky, fucked up dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool though. Yeah,
it was a good movie. I'm really glad I watched it. Thank you for recommending it. I'm glad I wasn't as like
for sure.
Turned off by the characters as maybe you guys thought I would be.
I honestly thought that the plotline was more not like derivative, but more sort of contrived previously. I thought it was like, at least when I watched it before, I was like, oh, like this is just like a dumb love story, fucking stupid, fucking.
Yeah, because you were 17. Yeah.
yeah, maybe even younger.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just stupid. It's dumb. Love is dumb.
No, oh fuck, I was gonna say something.
I'm sorry. I keep derailing.
Yeah, you keep. Yeah. Oh, this movie is contrived. It's got a huge gimmick, but like in a good way. It's not. Contrived doesn't mean like silly or like that's the point. This movie's not trying to be like this is so realistic. So I don't have a problem with that as much. Especially because it's
placed in a real setting though, and it's like it's talking about like real issues, but it's approaching them from a very contrived standpoint. Like, what if you could just erase all of your bad memories? It's like, whoa.
Yeah. I don't mind a movie like that, honestly. Like, I'll take a high concept movie. That's fine. And yeah, I think this was good. This was better than I thought it would be. I definitely appreciate it.
Same. Yeah, really enjoyable. And I thought the actors all did really well. I thought that it was like really well acted. I mean, we've already touched on the cinematography, which was excellent. Good music. Yeah.
I mean,
all around great movie.
I'm not going to agree with you on the performances side of things, but I feel like the performances were inversely correlated in quality with the amount of time that the performer had on screen. But like that's okay.
I'd say even if you disagreed with the performance, I feel like they portrayed what they were meant to portray, and maybe that's just my take on it. It is just my take on it, actually, not maybe. So. Like,
I mean, you're valid. Like I'm.
Yeah.
Clearly, like someone liked this movie, or people like this movie.
At least one person, right?
A lot of acclaim. So, I just the fact that this was Kate Winslet, getting nominated here, was just a little questionable in my opinion. But that's okay. 2004 was an interesting year for movies. So
I don't know. I mean, I think the way that she acted within his mind was like very interesting and really cool to see what he actually thought of her versus what he says he thought of her.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like obviously like that was all happening within his mind, all of his memories, and so the vision that he has of her is like it's pretty complimentary towards her. It's definitely not like a bad take on her as a person. It doesn't like he obviously doesn't actually think that she's dumb. He doesn't think that she's always drunk. Like she's not like a wino. Right. But those were the things that he didn't like about her, and it's.
Yeah.
But when like they actually go through his memories, the way that she's acting in them is almost motherly towards him at several points.
Mommy issues
weird,
the movie. Yeah.
But it's cool. It was a good movie. I really liked it.
Yeah, good movie. Any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, pretty much captured it with good movie. I like
good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really much better on the rewatch, but that was due to my own personal hang-ups. Thanks for coming to my therapy TED Talk.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, liked it. Good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a favorite. Not didn't blow my mind, but like I liked it. I'd probably watch it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't say top 10, but like I'd watch it again. I'd show it to someone. I'd recommend it.
There's probably it's probably a movie that benefits from a rewatch too. So like this is a
Yeah,
movie I
yeah,
could tell
yeah.
that would like you would get a lot out of watching it a second time. So
Yeah, for sure. Just picking up on the little details. And like surprisingly good as like a horror film.
yeah, you should watch. This is a movie I don't have an interest in watching again, just because it was pretty emotionally challenging, I think. But there's a movie from 2020 or 2019 called The Father. It's a movie about, I'll just say, a man with dementia. If you like this movie and like want something a little, it's not a horror movie, but it is in the way that this is a horror movie. I would say give that a chance if you haven't seen it or heard
It's
of it.
got Anthony Hopkins, who I really like as an actor.
It does.
So.
Yeah, he won the Oscar kind of controversially for that movie in 2021. So
Okay,
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Maybe then I'll have a movie that I can mention next week and say, yeah, I did watch a movie thing.
What do we want to watch next?
Now that's an excellent question. Do we want to go a serious film, or do we want to go something more lighthearted? Do we not have a preference?
I could go a lot of different ways. I guess it's a Lane's frame.
Yeah, it's a Lane frame. I'm hacking into the Lane frame.
Hey. Hell yeah. Let's go. Would you rather watch something really silly and fun or kind of serious and I don't know, not dark, but yeah.
I think maybe we should watch something serious, but I will say I did see that you put The Fifth Element and Weekend at Bernie's on here recently. Big fan of The Fifth Element. I haven't seen it in years, but I was a big fan of that growing up.
See,
Haven't seen Weekend at Bernie's, but I've heard good things about it.
well, I would say neither of those are very serious. Both of those were
No,
added.
they're silly films. Yeah.
Christopher has been begging; he wants to rewatch Weekend at Bernie's. And then
Nice.
Fifth Element is one that he was like, "Oh, you'll have opinions on that one."
Oh,
So-
you definitely will.
Stop.
I love the movie as a teen, but I mean, thinking back on it, I don't think it was a very good film.
I mean, people like that movie. I think
Parts
people
of it are really kick ass, I'll say. Like,
I don't think it's the quality of the movie itself that anyone is expecting me to have opinions on. It's the Luc Besson of it all. He's the director. He's like pretty much a pedophile. I don't know. Yeah, allegedly. I don't know if I have to say that. Is anyone listening to our podcast and going to report on like celebrity bullshit I say? But
probably.
no.
New York Times headline article.
He did Leon the Professional.
Okay.
And then
I've heard about that movie. I haven't seen it.
yeah, I have avoided it because I knew that it was kind of repulsive to couple the plots of that, or the plot of that movie, with the director's personal life, and that he like knocked up a teenager when he was in his 30s or whatever. And I know that The Fifth Element also has kind of like the Born Sexy Yesterday trope in it. So I don't know. I might not want to rant about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll say The Fifth Element definitely, like the woman in it is like very overly sexualized at like
Yeah.
several scenes, and it's like, oh, she's like born perfect.
Yeah.
She's a
Oh,
doll
no.
that's-
Christopher
she's been
has
alive
given me
for
this exact
thousands of years.
speech. Yeah.
Okay.
He
all
was
right.
yeah, he was like, this is eugenics, basically. Like, it's like weird.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
So,
it's
I don't
it's like
know.
some weird perversion of the femme fatale where it's like
Yeah.
or like the divine feminine where it's taken that to some weird like fucking navel gazing perverted degree. It's
Yeah.
which isn't great. On the other hand, there are some action scenes which are really cool, and the dialogue is pretty funny.
What's
It's like
the,
a real bro movie.
Is it Full Metal Alchemist that has the meme that's like cool robots, and then like the like do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And then it's shooting over.
It's like
it,
shooting
and
over the
it's-
person's head. Yeah.
yeah. The Fifth Element is like cool fighting in space, and then the shooting over it is like, maybe pedophilia is okay. Please forgive this director. And it's like, wait a second. Yeah, that's Neon Genesis Evangelion. I have a tattoo about that. But
Gotcha. Right, NGE. So I would not like to watch that movie next. That is not a love.
okay, fair.
We can get to it eventually, but
Let's do a serious one.
you want to do
Or
a serious
what
one?
would you suggest? No, what would you suggest? It's a Lane frame.
I was going to suggest either Animal House, which is not a serious movie. That was the really silly one. It's a movie I haven't seen. Have you seen Animal House?
Nope.
It's like the college, the quintessential like frat. Actually, to come back to our jokes about fraternizing, the quintessential like frat movie in the 70s. It's where like chanting toga toga over and over, where that came from.
Okay.
It's directed by the guy who did The Blues Brothers and American Werewolf in London.
And I like his films.
Yeah. I haven't seen this one though, and like that guy. I mean, we could talk about John Landis. He's a figure to talk about. I was going to suggest either that, or I was thinking either like an old movie, a Hitchcock, or even F for Fake, which I know is a movie we've both seen, but we never watched it together. So that's not a super serious movie.
Yeah, I saw that as like a 7-year-old.
Yeah, you told me that you watched it like with your aunt or something, and I was like, that's a fucking grandma. Bizarre. Yeah, your grandma, and I was like, that's a bizarre movie to watch with like family when you're a kid.
I don't remember like any of it, but I think she definitely tried to change it, and like I was like, hey, I was watching
channel
that.
got
She
stuck.
was like, okay, and we were just watching it.
I mean, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. It's maybe my favorite Wells. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. But
Wow. Sheesh. That's quite a commendation from you, Lane.
yeah, well, I mean, it's not my favorite Wells to look at. I'll tell you that. That's another man I would for at his heyday.
Bro, what is up today? Like, is there something in the air? Something in the water or something? Jesus.
Clearly, you don't pay enough attention to the group chat if you think that this is. I've said some fucking heinous shit.
No, that's true.
Men. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Anyway,
those are your two. Those are the real Lane's frames.
Yeah, it's true. Orson Welles and I would have invented a new STD.
No, I forget what movie we watched with him, but like
we watched Citizen Kane.
He was on screen. Citizen Kane, yeah. Whenever he was on screen, you're like, that guy fucks. Oh, he fucks. Look at him. Look how he walks. Like, it was the most animalistic I have ever seen you, maybe ever seen a person, ever. Lena stepped away from the mic. They're too busy laughing. I just hear him in the background.
It's true. It was hot. I don't know what you want from me. Like,
it was like every single time he came on screen. It was like on cue. Like he's turning around a corner, and you're like,
I was not that bad.
You weren't that bad. No. But
no.
It was like at least 3 or 4 times. You're like, God, look at this guy. He fucks. Like he just fucks. I was like, oh, I mean, okay, yeah, no, for sure. And you're like, yeah, like look at him.
I think he was probably the most attractive white man that ever walked the earth. Like I mean, I don't know what you want from me. Yeah, up until, he started breathing wine. Like, I think he was...
I don't know, because you also showed me the wine commercial from him.
Well,
and
it's
I'm pretty
champagne.
sure you said, and I'm pretty sure during that as well, you were like, God, I mean, just look at him.
Well, yeah,
he fucks.
He was definitely still fucking when he was in his 60s or whatever. But like, I'm not saying I would. But when he was younger, yeah, I mean, absolutely would. But we don't have to watch a movie based on if I think the main actor or director is hot. We shouldn't do that.
Wait. So can I get your opinion on William Peterson as well then?
Oh. Wait, like from fucking
Gil Grissom CSI.
Yeah, it's funny that that's where you know him from. Yeah, did we watch Manhunter?
No, we haven't.
We should watch Manhunter. Okay, wait.
Okay, whoa, out of left field. Okay.
Wait.
On the edge of my seat.
Okay, why did you suggest it, or why did you bring him up?
I think he kind of looks like Orson Welles.
Interesting. Is this a Ricky original?
What? Like a Ricky original thought? Like, yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you just say things and it's clear that it's from Twitter, so, like...
No, sorry. This is a Ricky original. Like, Orson Welles is like William Peterson mixed with Paul Hollywood.
Who the fuck is Paul Hollywood?
Great British Bake Off or Baking Show?
Oh, I don't... Yeah, this is not... I don't watch TV.
That's fine.
I see
he kind of looks like...
He looks like William Peterson. Yeah, he looks like William Peterson.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think he looks like either. Do you know what Orson Welles looks like? Because I don't think he looks like either of these men. William Peterson, maybe I could see. He's kind of like lion-like.
Specifically,
in the way that
William
was.
Peterson is what came to mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. I I mean, maybe not when they were well, maybe not. I was about
Yeah.
to say maybe not when they were younger, and maybe not when they were older. But right, like
In the theater of the mind, they look alike.
yeah,
Um,
where
yeah, I
anything is
guess
possible.
they have like curly hair and like
They
yeah,
got
I guess
that
like
same
similar.
sort of grin.
I guess. Yeah. We should watch
Yes.
Manhunter. That's what we should watch.
Okay.
We want to watch Manhunter for sure.
We want
Manhunter
to watch
is
Manhunter.
yeah, Manhunter's a 1986 movie. It's based on Silence of the Lambs, or not Silence of the Lambs, but the first, the prequel or like the first book in the Hannibal series, and it's directed by Michael Mann. So like
Oh,
fucking
he's the man.
like yeah, the trinity of like things that you know are those those things. So yeah, we should totally watch that. It's a serious movie
All right, sweet.
in the subject matter. It's pretty dark. I fucking love that movie. I will watch that movie all the time. William Peterson's not
Awesome.
Orson Welles level hot, but he's still good looking. So, and also
Yeah, yeah.
I'll plant the seed. I think that this movie Manhunter has one of the most erotic, like sexy scenes in any movie ever. But not like in a
Okay.
not explicit though. But anyway,
Right.
so we'll
right. Just erotic, sensual, not sexual.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
We'll keep the horny train going, I guess.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Next
All right.
week.
Choo-choo. All aboard.
All right. So yeah, we want to watch Manhunter. So sounds good. Glad we got
Sweet.
to something. Did we ever come up with a better way to end this? I think the last time I just ended it with oh right.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
But yeah, I guess we will talk next week, and I'll play the outro music again.
Manhunter. Whoa, here he comes. Like Maneater.
I was hoping you would keep going so that I could just use
Oh.
the outro music.
Whoa, here he comes. Watch out, boy, he'll chew you up. Whoa, here he comes. He's a man-eater. Boom, boom.